Good afternoon, everyone. TFL librarian Sharon here for Lunch and Learn Online. Our topic today is Microsoft Excel. Now, the Excel program is pretty complex, so in today's workshop, we're going to be focusing just on the basics. And in following weeks, we're going to take a closer look at functions and then on pivot tables. In a nutshell, Excel is an electronic spreadsheet program. In other words, Excel is a computer program used for storing, organizing, and manipulating information. Unlike a paper spreadsheet, Excel can help you to make calculations and generate graphs and charts from your data. Excel is a very powerful program and is used by individuals as well as businesses, both big and small. We're only going to be scratching the surface of what Excel has to offer in our workshops, but I hope it inspires you to find out more about this wonderful program. Although I'm focusing specifically on Excel, you'll find that a lot of the tips and tricks are going to apply to the free Google Sheets program as well. As you can see on my screen, I've opened Excel already and we're on the landing page. The first thumbnail displayed here is called the blank workbook, which we're going to be using today to start a new spreadsheet of our own design. Aside from the blank workbook though, Excel also includes templates for things like budgets, shopping lists, calendars, anything that a lot of people might want to use. Definitely take a look at these templates, as something pre-made is going to save you a lot of work. Since we're focusing on the basics of how to use Excel though, we're going to start by opening a blank workbook. Okay, let's take a moment to get ourselves oriented. As we can see from my screen, Excel is organized into a couple different parts. We have this large section here, known as our worksheet, that has a whole lot of white space, and above it, here is the ribbon. If you've used Microsoft Office products before, the ribbon should look familiar. Like in Microsoft Word or other Microsoft products, the Excel ribbon is organized into a series of tabs that allow us to do everything from save our work to change the size and color of the information we enter. Above the ribbon are these little buttons here. This is the Quick Access toolbar. This handy little toolbar lets you easily find important options such as the Save button, the Undo button, and the Redo button. That Undo button in particular is going to come in handy once we start to add information to our worksheet. Now let's look at the worksheet itself in a little more detail. As you can see, it's organized into rows and columns. The columns are identified by letters, A, B, C, and etc. And the rows are identified by numbers, 1, 2, 3, and so on. At the intersection of each row and each column are small rectangles called cells. Since each cell exists at the intersection of the column and the row, it has a unique name. As we can see, this cell that I've clicked on here is named B3 because it's in column B and row 3. This cell, for example, is C5. Again, column C, row 5. If I'd like to move between cells, I can do so simply by clicking on the cell I want with my mouse, or I could use the directional arrows on the keyboard. As you can see, whichever cell I've selected has a green border. This border lets me know that this specific cell is the one I have selected. To begin typing, all I'm going to do is select the cell where I want my information to go and type. One thing to make a note of with typing, though, is the Enter button. In Microsoft Word, for example, we press the Enter button to add a paragraph break. If I press the Enter button in Excel, though, it's going to bump me down to the next cell in the next row. If I'd like to add a paragraph break within a cell, I'll need to use the Alt button and the Enter button at the same time. Now let's play around with Excel and see what it can do. I'm going to replace the information I typed before. To do so, I can click on the cell and either press the Delete button or the Backspace button, and I'm going to enter some new information. Okay, now I have a list of fruits to play around with. Now, we saw this before with my first example with the words Hello World, and we can see it here again with strawberry. Our word, strawberry, is too long for its cell, and it's eaten its way all the way from A5 into B5. That's no good. To keep our information neat and organized, we probably want it to stay within its own cell. You'll notice if I click on B5 here, there's no actual information typed. It just appears to have gone over from column A to column B. Fortunately, there's a couple quick fixes for that. One option would be to simply increase the size of column A. To do so, I'm going to take my cursor and hover it over the line between columns A and column B. You'll notice as I did so, the cursor changed color and shape. When it's positioned between the two columns, I can hold the left mouse button down and pull my mouse slightly over to the right to resize that column. Now you can see that the word strawberry fits neatly within its own cell. There is another way to do this, though, that I'd like to show you. So I'm going to click on the Undo button to go back. Perhaps for one reason or another, I don't want to change the size of my columns. And if I don't want to, I don't actually have to. If it's important, for whatever reason, to keep the sizes of our columns the same, we could use the Wrap Text button here on the ribbon, which, as the dropdown is showing, is going to wrap extra long text into multiple lines. So if I click the Wrap Text button, strawberry is now split, with the last two letters of the word appearing on the row below. Now, for the sake of clarity, I probably don't want to split a word over multiple lines, so I'm going to resize my row again until my word strawberry fits neatly within its cell. We can use that same resizing technique to change the height of cells as well, meaning that we can increase the height of the various rows. For example, if I move my cursor between rows 1 and 2, I can pull down after holding the left mouse button to increase the height of row 1. Now, if I don't have a particular height or size in mind, I could always move my cursor between the rows I want to resize and double left click, and the cell will snap to fit whatever its contents are. Okay, so now I have a list of fruits, and while the information may be important, it really lacks visual appeal. There's a couple things I can do to make my spreadsheet both easier to read and nicer to look at. One is to add borders around the text so I can see where the boundaries of each cell are. I'm going to highlight the portion of the spreadsheet that I'd like to add borders to. Remember, to highlight, I'm going to position my cursor where I'd like my highlighted section to begin. I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button down, and then I'm going to drag my mouse until this grayed out portion extends to the boundaries of what I'd like to highlight. At that point, I can let go of the left mouse button. So here I have my list of fruits selected. I'm going to go back up to the ribbon to this button here. I think it looks like a little window. If I click on the small triangle to the right of this window, I have a drop-down menu for all the borders I can add to my spreadsheet. If I only wanted to add borders to a portion of the spreadsheet, for example, only the top borders, I could do so. For now, though, I'm going to say add borders on all sides. And here we can see what the list of fruits looks like with the borders added. We have nice clear lines between each fruit. Just like in the other Microsoft Office products, I could also change the font, color, or the fill of each cell. For example, if I wanted to change the Apple cell here, I could give it a yellow background, and I could change the font to, let's say, we'll change it to Arial Black. There we go. Remember, if you do make a mistake, that undo button comes in handy. I'm going to press undo twice, and now I've not only removed the font change I did, but the color as well. Another thing that's going to come in handy when we're trying to sort through and make sense of information is sorting it. Now, as a librarian, I'm fond of keeping things in alphabetical order. If I'd like to sort my list into alphabetical order, well, I could retype it, or if I was doing this on paper, I could rewrite it, but that takes a lot of time, and I'd rather not. Instead, Excel can do the sorting for me. If I highlight column A, and I can do so simply by clicking on the letter A at the top, and then go over to the Sort and Filter option in the ribbon, I can sort it either alphabetically or reverse alphabetically, whatever I think is going to work best for me. If I click on the Sort A to Z option, Ta-da! Excel has put my list of fruits into alphabetical order for me. Features like this are going to really come in handy when we're dealing with a lot of information. For example, if I'm working with a list of the library's DVDs, of which there are several thousand, I don't want to be alphabetizing that list by myself. I'm going to rely on Excel, and it's going to be done almost instantaneously. Okay, we're going to stop here for today. And in our next week's workshop, we're going to be looking at how Excel can do math for us. My favorite thing. If I don't have to do math myself, I don't want to. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. And please remember to follow us on social media, including Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more great videos.